This week on the Ed Newsstand Podcast, I'm going to show you how to update Google Slides to your students after you have already pushed them out through Google Classroom. Let's dive in. So this video was spurred on by Miss Lily13, and you can see her picture right here. She did a minute-long video on TikTok about how to update your slides so that your students' slideshows will update after you have shared it out in Google Classroom. So as students are working through their presentation will update. So if you want them to chunk it out, it will do that. Or if you do something and you're like, oh, I need to provide them more instruction, or I need to give them some more resources, you can update that Google slide within that's the one that the student owns in Google Classroom after you've already shared it out. So you can click on her picture here and it will take you right to her video, and you can watch her minute-long tutorial about how to do that. The directions for how to do that are written over on the left-hand side of the newsletter. You can see are written here. And then I have a little GIF of the directions here as well, which a little step-by-step. And this idea was given to me by Senorita Robbins. And if you click on her video, she will show you how to do that little tutorial as well. And I've done that. I've shared some of that information with the resources that I've provided about how to create screencasts for your classroom or just for your students. So you can check out both of those videos. If you click their @ up here, it'll take you to their TikTok pages for you to be able to see any other tutorials or support resources that they have provided. So let's kind of dive into this. In Google Slides, you've got your presentation. And so there's a couple ways for you to come at this. I'm just going to start with a regular presentation. So I'm gonna make a copy of this presentation so I don't mess it up. Okay. So we'll just say okay. So when you have the presentation that you are going to share with students, the one that you know for sure you want to share with them, you are going to label it a teacher copy. So when I have this presentation up here, I just go up to the name of my presentation, and I'm just going to call this teacher and hit return. So I've got this labeled as my teacher copy, and then I need to make a copy for my students. So I'm going to go up to File, I'm going to make a copy, and I'm going to make a copy of the entire presentation. And then instead of labeling it teacher, I'm going to erase that and I'm going to label it student and say okay. So what you should see is that you have two presentations. You have a teacher presentation and you have a student presentation. If you want to have three, you want that master presentation, the one that is your end-all be-all, the one you know you're never going to manipulate or change. You can have three and just make a copy of your master presentation. But for these purposes, I'm going to say you have a teacher copy and you have a student copy. So what you're going to do is you are going to take your student copy and you are going to delete all of the slides except for the first slide in the presentation. So I'm going to click on the second slide. I'm going to scroll all the way down to my last slide. I'm going to hold Shift, and then I'm just going to press the delete key. And all of those slides are now going to be deleted. So it's a quick way for you to grab all of your slides at once. Then I'm going to come over here to the teacher copy. I'm going to click on slide 2. I'm going to scroll all the way down to my 9th slide. I'm going to make a copy. So I held Shift, clicked the last one. I'm going to copy. So I right-clicked and I clicked copy. You can use a keyboard shortcut if you want to, but I'm just going to do it this way to show you the word copy. I'm going to go back to my student presentation. And then in here, I'm going to paste. When you paste, you want to make sure that you choose Link to Original Presentation. So now anything that I change in my original presentation will automatically be changed here in my current presentation. So I'll just demonstrate this real quick. So if I'm in my teacher copy and I'm on slide 2 and I insert an image, search the web here, and I'm just going to say a record, and I want to insert this. So you can see now that the image is inserted here. I go to my student copy, I choose update, and you can now it updated that way. Okay, so this is how it's going to work, but there are a couple of steps that we need to go through to make sure this works. So this works because you are the current owner of both presentations. But what we're going to do is we are going to make a copy for each student. So there's one more step that we need to go through. So in your teacher presentation, you need to share. And right now it's shared to anybody within our school domain. But we are going to click change. And then right here, where it says the school, you're going to choose the drop down and you're going to choose anyone with the link. And you choose done. I'm going to do the same with the student one. So I'm in here. I'm going to change this to anyone with a link, and I'm going to choose done, because this student copy is the one that you are going to put into your Google Classroom. So I'm in my Google Classroom now. I'm going to create an assignment, which is the first choice. And I'm just going to call it Share Slides with Students. Then I go down to Add. I'm going to add it from Google Drive. I'm going to choose the student one. I'm going to insert. Then make sure that you make a copy for each student. So now each student gets their own individual copy. Okay, then you can change all these other things, your due dates, your topics. That's a separate video that I talked about. So I will assign this. It has now been assigned to the student. All right, I'm in my teacher copy. Now I'm going to bring up the student copy here. So I'm in my student's classwork page. I'll refresh this so we can see the assignment. So here you go, share slides with students. So I will open the slideshow. Right now I have a blank presentation. I'm going to go back here to my second slide. I'm going to insert an image. Drop this image in. Now I go back to my student presentation on slide number 2, and I'm going to choose the update button. There you go. That is how you update your slide presentation that you have already pushed out into Google Classroom with your students without having to buy any extra software, any extra Google Chrome extension add-ons. All you're doing is making a copy and changing the way that you share your presentation. Thank you for tuning in this week. As always, you can find me on Twitter at ReynoldsTroy. Find old episodes of the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on Instagram at EdNewsstand, and you can download my app to stay up to date with my content by scanning the QR code or by going to ednewsstand.glideapps.io and saving the app to your home screen. You can also find all the resources I just mentioned in my newsletter and watch the video I made on my website at ednewsstand.weebly.com. I'm Troy Reynolds. We'll see you next time on the Ed Newsstand Podcast.